Jaya Jagadish दैत्यं धारयते बलिं चलयते क्षत्रक्षयं कुर्वते पौलस्त्यं जयते हलं करयते कारुण्यमातन्वते म्लेच्छान् मूर्छयते दशाकृतिकृते कृष्णाय तुभ्यं नमः। O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a fish, all glories to you. You have acted as a boat in the form of a giant fish to give protection to the Vedas, which had sunk in the turbulent sea of devastation.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a tortoise, all glories to you. The great Mount Mandara rests upon your gigantic back, which acts as a pivot for churning the ocean of milk, and which has thus been marked with a large circular scar-like depression. In this way, your back has become most glorious.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who has assumed the form of a boar, O glory to you, the
glory,
which is sunk to the bottom of the Garba ocean, sits fixed upon the tip of your tusk, like a spot upon the moon.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of half man, half lion, all glories to you. Just as one can easily crush a wasp between one's fingernails, so in the same way, the body of the wasp-like demon Hiranyakashipu has been ripped apart by the wonderful pointed nails on your beautiful lotus hands.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a dwarf mountain, all glories to you. O wonderful dwarf, by your massive steps which deceive the King Valley, and by the Ganges water that has emanated from the nails of your feet, deliver all living beings within this world.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Parshuram Brigupati, all glories to you. At Kurukshetra you bathe the earth in the rivers of blood on the bodies of demoniac Kshatriyas that you have slain. The sins of the world are washed away by you. Because of you, people are relieved from the blazing fire of material existence.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who has assumed the form of Ramachandra, all glories to you. In the battle of Lanka, you destroy the 10-headed demon Ravana and distribute his head as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions, headed by Indra. And this action was long desired by all of them, who were much harassed by this monster.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Balaram, the wielder of the plow, all glories to you. On your brilliant white body you wear garments the color of a fresh blue rain cloud. These garments are colored like beautiful dark hue of the river Yamuna, who feels great fear due to the striking of your plowshare.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what's up.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Buddha, all glories to you. O Buddha of compassionate heart, you decry the slaughtering of poor animals performed according to the rules of Vedic sacrifice.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Kalki, all glories to you. Like a comet bearing an indescribably terrifying sword, you annihilate the wicked barbarian kings at the end of Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna.
O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed these 10 different forms of incarnation, all glories to you. O readers, please hear this hymn of the poet Jayadev, who is the most excellent and a warder of happiness, a bestower of auspiciousness, and is the best thing in this dark world.
We will attend this one together.
O Lord Krishna, I offer your blessings unto you, who appeared in the forms of these incarnations. In the form of Matsya, you rescued the Vedas. As Kurma, you made the Mandara mountain on your back. As Varaha, you lift the earth with your tusks. In the form of Nrsimha, you tear open the chests of the Daitya Hiranyakashipu. In the form of Vamana, you trick the Daitya king Lali, asking him for the 3 steps of land. You take away the whole universe from him by expanding your steps. Parshuram, you slay all the wicked Kshatriyas. As Lord Ramachandra, you conquer the Lakshasa king Ravana. In the form of Balaram, you carry a plow with which you subdue the wicked and draw toward you the river Yamuna. As Lord Buddha, you show compassion toward all living beings suffering in this world. At the end of Kali Yuga, you appear as Kalki, ruler of the Malachas, degraded low-class men.
Like myself.
You guys ever read that part?
Oh, no, it didn't say like Krishna Prasad, but it's
That is not what we did.
Oh my God, come on guys. Please.
You guys want to hold a verse on the phone? It's Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 1. Scheduled incarnations with specific functions. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, since we sang the song in the beginning, I'll just chant the verse and read the purport. Save a little bit of time.
Brahmo Vacha.
So, I'm just going to chant the verse.
Okay.
Brahmo Vacha.
Brahmo Vacha.
Yatro yata shikicha dvaranaya viparat kaudim tanum sakalagna mayam ananta antar mahanava upagatam adidaityam tam dashtriyatrim iva vrajadaro darara. I'll go through the word for word also. Brahma Vacha, Lord Brahma said, Yatra, at that time, when, Udyataha, attempted, Shiti Tala, the planet Earth, Udaranaya, for the matter of lifting, Vibhara, assumed, Crowdin, pastimes, Tanum, form, Sakala, total, Yagnamayam, all-inclusive sacrifices, Ananta, the unlimited, Antar, within the universe. Maha Aranave, the great Garbha ocean. Upagatam, having arrived at. Adi, the first. Daityam, demon. Tam, him. Damishtaya, by the tusk. Ajram, the flying mountains. Iva, like Raja Dharaha, the controller of the thunderbolts. Dadara, perceived. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as his pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called Garbhodaka, the first demon, Harinyaksha, appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. Report. Since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods, or the Vaishnavas, are always the two classes of living beings to dominate the planets of the universe. Lord Brahma is the first demigod, and Harinyaksha is the first demon in this universe. Only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls in the air, and as soon as these conditions are disturbed, planets may fall down in the Garbhodaka ocean, which covers half the universe. The other half is the spherical dome within which the innumerable planetary systems exist. The floating of the planets in the weightless air is due to the inner constitution of the globes, and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. A similar disturbance was created formerly by the demons headed by Harinyaksha, the great exploiter of the gold rush. And the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fell down into the Garbhodaka ocean. The Lord, as maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boar with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth from within the water of Garbhodaka. Sri Jayadeva Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, has sung Vasati Darshana Sakara Dharani Tavalagna Sashini Kalanka Kaleva Nimagana Keshavadrita Sukararupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who has assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusk, and it has appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Such is the symptom of an incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation of the Lord is not the concocted idea of fanciful men who create an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances, like the above-mentioned occasion, and the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. The modern creators of the many cheap incarnations may take note of the factual incarnation of God as a gigantic boar with a suitable snout to carry the planet Earth. When the Lord appeared to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Harinyaksha tried to create a disturbance in the methodical functions of the Lord, and therefore he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Harinyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, his version is that after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this version. Om Gyana Taminandasya Ganamudandana Salakaya Tashwar Tashma Shri Guru Namaha Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radha Sahasana Lalitam Shri Vishakam Tam Shcha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So this today is the appearance day of Lord Varahadeva, who at a time of great need rescued the ocean from the Garbhodaka ocean. So there's two instances of the pastime which are described in the third canto. The first one is that the earth kind of was kind of resting and then it didn't come out, and then there wasn't any particular disturbance in the sense that that there like when we hear the second one, or the other instance is when Harinama is being stated in this verse purport where it was disturbed, the workings of the earth were disturbed, and then it fell into the ocean as a result of Harinama, and then it had to be rescued. So generally we focus on the second one. That's kind of describing more in detail. It's described in the third canto that after Aditi engaged in sex life with Kashyapa Muni in an inauspicious time, she, and within her womb was conceived two very powerful demons, Harinyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. It's described also that they were twin brothers, and Hiranyakashipu was conceived first, and Harinyaksha was born first. It's described in some Shastra that when there's twins, the one who is conceived first is born second, because of, I guess what's the right word? I guess the dynamics of that. So Hiranyakashipu was actually the older brother, and then Harinyaksha was the firstborn. So we can kind of understand that as the term given here is the Adi Daicha, or the first demon. So Harinyaksha, practically upon being born, they were both the demons were both extremely powerful already, before really performing any austerities, and naturally they began to engage in the demon's favorite occupation, which is to go against the workings and the natural order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Harinyaksha began to go around and terrorize different planetary systems. And you would also understand that too with Hiranyakashipu. When he also, there's a chapter described Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. And I believe there's also a chapter Harinyaksha terrorizes the universe. So these demons, their main business is just to go around and just cause problems for other living entities. So Harinyaksha, being the first and one of the best demons, did just that. And he traveled around and caused very many problems, and with great strength he couldn't be defeated, going up to the abode of Varuna and challenging him and begging him for a fight, even though there was no need of a fight anyways. There was no cause for war. Generally in this day and age, people fight over things that when they feel there's some agitation or some difference of opinion. That's why generally wars are fought. There's some tension, and then somebody can't take it, and then they just start fighting. But Varuna was doing absolutely nothing. But because Harinyaksha is such he's just adverse to Vishnu, he was naturally inclined to fight with Varuna. And so he begged him to fight, and Varuna told him that eventually Vishnu will come Varaha and he will kill you. and you will be, and he said something like, you'll be food for jackals or something. And Harinama was very excited about this prospect of fighting. And so Varaha came, and as it's being stated in this verse, Harinama, he smacked him in the face, and I believe it's described that his eyes popped out of his socket and he vomited blood, and he was killed immediately, and then he was pierced with his tusk, and the acharyas confirm this. So the famous verse in Bhagavad Gita states, Janma karma chame divyam evam yovedi tatvataha tvakta punam So it's described that if we hear these pastimes of Krishna, we understand his birth, his activities, why he comes, and what he does, and we remember that, we understand that in truth, then we can be freed tvakta punam janma, from the cycle of birth and death, and come to his abode. So these different pastimes are there, which we understand them in truth. So we try to understand why. So why did Varaha come? One reason he came was to slay the big demon, Harinama, and to enjoy in fighting also, and to set things right. So Prabhupada starts off this purport by stating the point. In the beginning of creation, there's the demons and the demigods. So the first demigod and the first demon of the universe. And since the demigod's interest, like Lord Brahma, is to see pretty much, the main business of Lord Brahma, aside from managing universal affairs, is to ensure that the living entities go back home, back to Godhead. They become purified, and they make gradual elevation. Whereas the demons, their whole program is to enjoy this material world and separate from Vishnu. There's a verse, Nantevidu Swartam Katimi Vishnu, Durashayaya Bir Artamanina. Prahlad Maharaj states that people don't know what the goal of life is. Swarta Gatim, their own goal. Gatim means goal, Swarta own. So they take their understanding of their body is the goal of life, because they don't know who Vishnu is. And this understanding is a blind man. Antar andar upaniyamanas te pitrum tatsa ulidami bhatha. It's like one blind man leading another blind man. So the position of the demons is like this. They're blind and they're adverse to Vishnu, and they mislead others. So the devotees of the Lord propagate the glories of the Lord and his pastimes for the benefit of all conditioned souls. And they try to set up society in such a way to which the individual jivas can be liberated from that. So this Mano Samhita and these different Vedas are spoken for the benefit of the conditioned souls. But the challenge established order is destroyed in that. And also too, not just Vedic conclusions also, but even the just natural law and order is beyond this standard humanized living. When Hiranyakashipu went to terrorize the universe, he was described that he was destroying rabbinical culture, killing cows, destroying the sacrifices of brahmanas. He was also destroying trees. Destroying trees, what is it? It's an inconvenience. When fruit trees are destroyed or things like that, there's people who eat those things. And he was destroying agriculture. These aren't in themselves intrinsic to spiritual life, but they just cause an inconvenience. Just like this inconvenience of the earth floating down into the Garbha ocean. So Prabhupada states in this purport, the earth is floating due to inner constitution. The modern scientists state that, I looked into it, and it's just, the earth is floating, but it's not floating, and it's constantly falling. And then they give Newton's theory of a cannonball, and then it's falling, but then it's keeping in motion, and then the gravitational pull, and this and that. And it wasn't really so clear. Usually if something's clear and easy to understand and makes sense, it's pretty simple to get, after reading a little bit. It's like Prabhupada would often state, you're not this body, and then we'd say, well, you say my hand, my arm, my leg, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, it's mine, so I'm the proprietor. It's very easy to understand. But this was like very tricky, and it was just like, well, it's not floating, and then it's falling, and it's spinning, and this and that. And I was just like, I'm not a scientist, so of course I'm not going to understand it so much. But anyways, Srila Prabhupada states and Shastra states that the universes, they're floating due to Shankar-san, the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, keeping the things afloat. And one understanding also is that, they say that the sun is stationary, but we understand from Brahma Samhita, Chakshra Esa Savitasa Kahagrahanam, Vajasamasho Morti Ashishitejaha, Yashyanaya Bhavati Samvi Kala Chakro, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That the sun, which is the eye of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has its fixed orbit. Yasyanaya Bhavati Samvi Kala Chakro. So that orbit, that order is fixed, is performing its journey. Brahmati means performing its journey. Samritas Akala Chakra. So Kala, time, Chakra, wheel. So the sun is fixed, is described in the Shastras. The pivot point is the pole star. And so it's rotating like that, going around the universe, the Brahmanda. So this is the understanding of Shastra. And they say different things, but we take Shastra as the main understanding. And there's a reason for this difference of opinions. The demons, well, they will say, well, there's no pole star. This is just mythology. There's no Shankar-san. This can all be explained logically, mathematically, without any. There's no need to bring any higher power into this equation. It can all be explained. I mean, this we can see. This apple is falling, and so this is proof of gravity, and it's at this. If you do this mathematical equation times this and that, and this gives you the gravitational pull and all these things. This is nature's law. This is law. This is independent of any being. This is the way that the universe is set up naturally. And Prabhupada would say, well, nature's Mother Nature. Then who is the Father? So we can understand. This is the vision of the devas, of the devotees. So we can see it's being stated here that there's a problem. Nowadays, when we see they had what they were saying. I don't know if they still say it, but there was, remember, the oil crisis. There's an oil crisis, an oil epidemic, and because there's not enough oil to meet the demands of the world, and all the oil is locked up in the Middle East, and we can't get it unless we control those countries, says America. So anyways, without getting into political topic so much, there's some problems with oil. And there's a lot of things, and speaking specifically of oil, just because it's mentioned in this verse, you can speak about other plastic pollution, this and that. So from oil, so many bad things come from using it that people already know of. One of those things, poison, is living in the city and breathing in some of the different toxins and things is bad, especially cities. Some cities are worse than other cities. You can fly in and you see the fog and things like that. They have also too, there's some of the different problems of oil. There's sort of wars are fought over it. They had some years ago, I forgot when that was, probably in 2010, something like that, was the Gulf oil crisis, to where they were drilling in the Gulf Sea for some oil, and then something happened, some piece blew up, and then it was spilling oil for so many days into the ocean, and they didn't know what to do. And so much oil spilled, and all these fishes died, and it was ruining people's lives, and on the shore, and a lot of this, at least problems are coming up on the shore of Louisiana, and like that. those countries on the border, Louisiana, Mississippi's down there a little bit, Alabama, like that. What else? Texas a little bit. So, but one problem, which is the unknown problem, is that by ripping out all these different minerals from within the earth, it destroys the inner constitution, and the earth can fall down into the Garbhodaka ocean, like it did before. But some people may say, well, that's just, this is just, like we were saying before, this is just mythology, this is a story. Well, we know now by modern science that the earth is held up by the sun's gravitational pull, and it's pulling it around and keeping it safe, and the sun is fixed, and there's no, we have our satellites, and we can see when there are satellites going on the earth, there's not an ocean of water down there. That's not existing. We have our satellites, we have our pictures. What are you talking about? We just went to Mars. Nobody saw an ocean down below. But as Prabhupada said, that it's just cheating, that they never went to the moon. They all these different things that the Vedas described and nothing's seen. Just like the Chinese recently just went to the moon, and what did they do? They went to the moon and they planted a cotton seed. It was trying to grow some cotton, and they had some fruit flies that they released, and then the cotton grew for a little bit, and then maybe it's dead and this and that. And they're growing cotton on the moon. But what's the point? What's the point of why are you going to grow cotton on the moon? Because people grow so much cotton here, and they go and they grow cotton on the moon, and it's a big thing, and it makes the headlines of the newspapers. And so they didn't go to the moon, and with the Shastras just state so many different things about the moon, that it's vegetation, it's a heavenly planet, and there's nothing. They just show some dust and some rocks and this and that, and then they plant a flag, and then they go. And the same thing with Mars too. And these are just cheating things. So yeah. So those who are demoniac, they will do these different things, and they will cause problems and disturb the rightful order of the cosmic order. Whatever it may be, from Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga. In Satya Yuga, they'll do big problems because they're very strong. Like we understand from Haranyaksh and Haranyakashipu, they were extremely powerful demons and extremely intelligent also. Haranyakashipu was so intelligent that he was able to more or less control the workings of the whole universe and take the post of the different demigods. It takes an extreme amount of intelligence to do that. And we can see also today too, that there's little Haranyakashipus, and they're fighting amongst one another for domination over the earthly planet. And so many different problems are caused, ranging from social, political, to spiritual. The main, educational paradigm for most of the world is one of atheism entwined into it. The conclusions and the understandings of modern academia are based on an atheistic paradigm, like we understand from Darwin, that states that so many thousands of years ago, from these amino acids, life arose, and then that began to evolve and transform and mix and this and that until you came with an ape, and then that ape slowly began to, was hunched, and then back became straight, and then we got mankind as it is today. And other things also of that nature. Different scientific conclusions about the working of the universe and the planets and the body, consciousness, psychology. A lot of these different things, even though they may not say it straightforwardly, it's there in a subtle degree, which is why it's dangerous, and some devotees have a lot of difficulty when they go to school and they lose faith because of all these different things. I had a friend recently, not so recent, but he was a devotee, and then he went back to school for whatever reason, And he became an atheist after going to school, and he was just saying, "Oh, Darwinism makes so much sense, and science, and this doesn't make any sense," you know. And he was a devotee for some years, and he just lost all of his faith and Krishna consciousness, and it just became atheistic. And that, you know, just like we associate with devotees, and we become more devoted and attached to Krishna, if we associate with those who are atheistic, that will also influence our consciousness. If you want to become like somebody, you associate with them. That goes, you know, these principles that we hear about, you know, like nectar instruction about, you know, how to behave and how to act. Those also are taking place on the material sphere. What I mean by material sphere is, you know, non-devotional association. So those things will affect us, affect people also. People engage in those things. So he went to school and he became an atheist, and he was saying Darwinism makes so much sense, this and that, and a lot of these different things too. And the schooling system, I'm just speaking about the schooling system in particular, but we can speak about so many different things. But their basic point is that, you know, people are not allowed to openly speak of theistic topics in a general way in most classes, and maybe in a philosophy class or religious studies class. People aren't allowed to generally speak of any theistic conclusions, and especially in science also. I may have stated before, but when I was younger, and my teacher, he had to teach the Big Bang, and he was annoyed with doing it. He said he's teaching it because he has to. He didn't believe in it. He was, I guess maybe some Christian or Catholic or something, but he didn't believe in it. He was annoyed by that. And he was saying, I have to teach you that. And then we learned it, and I was thinking, what is this? It's like, I was thinking something, you know, it's going to be like, oh, it's something controversial. And it was just nothing, you know. I don't even remember what they said. I don't remember so many things they said, and I'm glad. I don't want to remember anything that they said. Because most of the things they said is just speculation. So, we can go on and on about this, but these demons and these atheistic men especially, and those in the leadership positions will put forward different agendas and different ideas to influence the mass of people. Just in so many different ways. Just like the one big example, also another one on another side is this whole idea of communism, and this idea that everybody is the same, everybody is on the equal level, and this and that. But we can see it's not true. Everybody isn't on an equal level, and everybody isn't the same. Very easy to understand that. If everybody's on an equal level, then why does you have your daughter, then marry her to the homeless guy on the street? That's loco and crazy. But you say, no, I don't want my daughter to marry that guy. He's, you know, that crazy homeless guy on the street. Why not? I mean, he's just like everybody else. This is a free state. He's got just as much opportunity to be successful. But you understand, no, I don't want to, you know, he's crazy. He's a low class man, and it's, you know, my daughter, she's very high class. So this whole idea of everybody's equal is just some bogus idea which nobody actually even believes anyway. Yeah. Nobody believes in that. They just say it because it sounds nice, but then they act differently. Anyway, this is just one example. So many examples can be given. It's not all equal. There's laws and things. Most of the laws are based off the idea that not everybody is equal. And people have to be qualified, just like, you know, so many examples. Somebody that's a criminal generally can't become somebody that commits, I believe, a federal what is that thing called? Federal crime or something. Felony. Gets a felony. He can do certain things. He becomes barred, but everybody's equal. Then why not? Why can't he become the Supreme Court judge? So what? He went to jail, this and that. I mean, he should have equal opportunity. So there's an understanding. And the jails also. Anyways, there's so many different ideas. There's different classes of men. And so this communism, this one example. So, with these different ideas and these different theories of propaganda going around, it's the duty of the Devas, like Lord Brahma, to give that knowledge and wisdom by which one can see through the illusory representations of these faulty systems and come into the platform of true knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. So the Brahma speaks the Vedas, and his descendants, they uphold those laws, and they see too that other living entities follow those. It's like we hear about with Maharaj Yudhisthira, great kings, that they would engage the citizens in their rightful occupations in worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they would do these different things. Brahma also, he's a devotee. They set the general populace to engage in Krishna consciousness. So that's the duty of devotees, is to engage in those activities. And we can see, so there was a great big problem. Things were disturbed, and Varaha, he came and he lifted up the earth from the Garbha ocean. And what happened when he did that? What happened when he lifted the ocean? Anyone want to spoil it? He lifted up the earth from the ocean. Then, yeah. What happened after he did that?
Was that all these horrible demonic people started coming?
Harinama came and then wanted to fight with him. And so the point is that Varaha did the right thing. He's a people. Anything he does is right. But just the point he came was, one of the points he came was to lift the ocean. Krishna's above right and wrong. Whatever he does is completely right. But as a result of doing the right thing, from the spiritual point of view, he was attacked, and it was a big, big problem. Harinama didn't want that. He was very angry. He was just angry. He was just Vishnu. He was angry at Vishnu. But he was attacked for being Vishnu. And we can also understand that as we preach Krishna consciousness and as we try to establish what Srila Prabhupada said, we will also be attacked in various ways. Maybe not some, there are some examples in history of devotees being attacked physically and verbally. There's many different things like that. I'm not going to discuss all those different things today. But people know different things. Brainwashing is the most famous of them all. And some of the preaching efforts in Melbourne and in Germany and things, devotees were assaulted. And sometimes these days, not so much anymore. A little bit here and there, maybe just verbal stuff. So we can understand that as we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, as we speak what's in these books, as we tell others, that there will be some push from the other side of Maya, and to set back the efforts of the Krishna conscious movement, like establishing these one ashram communities, different gurukuls. We were speaking earlier about the modern educational system is one of an atheistic paradigm. So the gurukul's intrinsic principle and foundation is based on surrender to the guru, which is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like that. By surrendering to the guru, one obtains Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasadi Payi Bhakti Lanta Beach. So this is the foundation of the Gurukul. And people don't want this. They're very, they don't. There's so many, you bring these kids up and this and that. How will they work in the world? Different things like that. There's book distribution also. Because people don't want to get angry when you distribute the books. They have so many different ways. They don't even know why they're angry. They get anything they can hear in the sentence they'll get angry about. We're distributing these books and we just ask for a donation. Donation? What do you need money? Why don't you get, what do you need money for? You just, get a job. Why don't you give it out for free? What do you need? What are you distributing this book is bogus, this and that. They just become angry by the whole thing. And so, this is reality. And it may not be there all the time, but we can expect it. To not expect such things, it would be foolish to sit there and think that there will be no problem whatsoever in the spreading of Krishna consciousness, or no setback, or no rascal, or whatever. Even to speak of just problems from other living entities. It's called the Yuga. Things are so bad, sometimes even ourselves are a problem. The mind and things. So these things, if we're pushing, and Prabhupada makes a point in one purport that if we're spreading Krishna consciousness nicely, then these demons will naturally become angry, and that's a good sign. That means it's working. It also means too it's a threat, and it's a bona fide thing. That's why they get angry. Nobody's getting angry about, what are these people, they go and legalize marijuana. Probably is a big thing, but there was a lot of people were saying that when I was in high school. So you go legalize marijuana, this and that, and then there's what it was saying, medicinal cannabis or something like this. And then nobody's getting too angry about it because it's there's demons. They're smoking it too. They don't care if it's legal or not legal. Then people are gonna take it anyway. So then they don't care. There's people there keeping them busy anyway. So then there's different things too. There's so many different these people want this. They just go and they waste. And then the people also that are fighting with these things, they don't know that there's a higher value of life than that. And then they go and they think once it's marijuana isn't legal now, and if it was legal, then my life would be so much better because then I wouldn't have to worry about going to jail, this and that. But it's just chewing the chew, and then it becomes legal, and then it's just then they get arrested for driving high. Anyways, this is just stupid. And so the leaders and the big demons, they're not, because it's against Shastra anyway. They like it. They don't care. And so these things are going on. But it's our duty. We can see, we can't just sit and be silent. What they say sometimes about Gandhi would say, and Prabhupada would criticize him for non-violence. So he would say, to be not, generally the understanding of non-violence is that if someone hits me, I will not fight back. I won't fight for any reason. But there's also this understanding called jiva himsa, which is violence to the jivas. And Prabhupada translates one jiva himsa, and other acharyas also, is that violence to the living entity is also to restrict him from the opportunity of Krishna consciousness. So if we are silent and we don't speak to people and we don't tell them these things and we don't distribute books and we don't try to push forward the Krishna consciousness movement, it's a sort of violence to the general populace. We have it's so many different things are like that. It's considered a crime in the material world to if somebody is doing something illegal, like somebody's gonna go rob a bank or something or whatever, or somebody's attacking somebody, and you just don't do anything, or you just stand there or whatever. You could have done something. It's illegal to do something like that, or you keep your mouth shut or whatever. Somebody's like that. You can get implicated in that. It's like if there's some great cure, somebody I don't know. Is AIDS still incurable in cancer? Apparently, there's this, on a side note, there's somebody I heard, they had cancer and they went to India to go leave the body of Vrindavan, and then somebody told them about this clinic in India that they can cure cancer, and they went and they got their cancer cured. So I don't know, maybe cancer is just incurable in America. Anyways, so I don't know, AIDS maybe, I don't know, I think AIDS is still incurable. So AIDS is incurable. And so if I have the cure for AIDS and it's in a bottle in my bag and I just keep it a secret, that's a great form of violence because so many people are dying and they can get benefited from that. So these different books that we have and this chanting and all these different activities, they're meant to be given to others. And we should try to do that to the best of our ability. And if we do that, not only will we become happy, but the Krishna will reciprocate with us more. So we can't just sit and be silent. We can't be satisfied with our own comforts. We have to speak the truth of Krishna consciousness. We have to tell people they're not their bodies. That there's a world which there's no birth, death, old age, and disease, and explain these things to the best of our ability and try to convince them. And that speaking also, there may be some fighting also. This because people have some of this atheistic conditioning in their heads. Some people can get over it, some people can't, but we can try. And so we have to speak the truth, whatever the cost may be. Maybe in different circumstances, just they sound like I'm not making absolute statements here. Like if, somebody's got a gun to your head and then they're just like, just pull the trigger, I'm not gonna whatever, I'm not gonna stop, saying, that may be one case, but, to save one's life, maybe a higher principle to maybe not speak the truth, to keep on living. There's like, they give the example of the Brahmin, the Brahmin's attached to being truthful, and then this guy's running away from some thieves. You may have heard this story. And then the guy hides in the bush. He said, "There's a group of thieves coming after me. You gotta hide me." And then he goes. The guy hides in the bushes. And then the thieves come. They say, "We're looking for some guy. Where is he at?" And the Brahmin's, because he's attached to being truthful, says he went to the bushes. And then they go and they take the guy and murder him and steal everything. So there's I'm talking about extraordinary circumstances, time not to be truthful. Just like devotees, I believe they're preaching in some Middle Eastern countries, and to openly present Krishna consciousness in some of these places, you can get killed.
Yeah.
So they would do, I believe it's the one time Prabhupada approved like some yoga program or something, that they can introduce as some yoga. Because you can't directly preach Krishna consciousness, and you can't dress as a devotee also, because you get killed. It's different in America. It's not, so we can't say, well, to take that instance and then apply that to America would be a misuse of intelligence. Therefore, we have a guru to help us with that. So what I mean by whatever the cost is, that by our own personal gain or loss, we shouldn't restrict from speaking the truth. The fear of these people may not like me, or this person may be angry with me, or I won't. Maybe this guy's giving a donation, but if I tell him, he shouldn't eat karmi grains, he may, this and that. So I'm not going to tell him. So if we're influenced by the general populace, we won't be able to give them the absolute truth. So we have to speak the truth always, whatever the cost, and Krishna will reciprocate. Because we may be silent about different things. We say, well, I'm not going to speak up about this, that, abortions, for instance. Abortions is rising, and they're passing laws, and I think maybe they passed it recently, but abortion was previously it was like only after a certain amount of months. Like before this time you could have an abortion, but then I think they're trying to pass a law, already did, to where you could have the abortion practically up until like the day before the baby comes out of the womb. And so that's wrong. And to not say anything about it or to pretend it's not there, abortion and some of these different bogus ideologies that are being propagated, to say nothing and to ignore it is violence. But also we can understand that just to not speak about something, we may think, I don't want to have any problems. But we could open up a series of events as a result of being silent and being so-called peaceful or whatever, that can become much more difficult to deal with in the future, much more difficult. And they have this example, I think it's from Greek philosophy. Is a Pandora's box, that once the box is open, it can't be shut. It's like it's open and it's done. So we have to address these problems. We have to at least set the right example ourselves and follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and address these different things that come up in society, as Srila Prabhupada did, and as a lot of his disciples are doing. And there's different avenues for that. There's scientific preaching and this and that, and establishing the Siddhanta of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and explaining it in that manner. Because the general populace, they're like sheep. They just, whatever is being told to them, they'll do. Just like one thing that, can be spoken of very much is that like meat eating, for instance. Meat eating is bad, so we should tell it, don't eat meat. There's so many reasons why. Ultimately we want people to offer their food to Krishna, but they're incurring sinful reactions from eating meat. And if we don't tell them, then they won't know, and they'll keep eating meat. And then so this way they're going further and further down. And so we have to fight against that. And then because these people are demoniac and atheistic, they'll have so many different concoctions. You eat meat, it's good for you, you get this vitamin, that vitamin, and there's so many great things about this and that, and we're not killing them inhumanely. We're humanely killing them. They don't feel any pain when we kill them, and then it's crazy and it's insane. So the devas and the devotees, they fight against that and they argue, and they establish Bhagavad-dharma. And we can see, just like in Bhagavad Gita, Duryodhana, he was so convinced in the beginning that he was going to win. And when you read those first couple verses, verse 10 or so in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada makes that point. And he's saying, well, look at this army, but there's great fighters like Bhima and Karna and all these great warriors. And what is Bhima's strength compared to Bhishma, who is unconquerable? And it's described that he was actually worried about Bhima because he was thinking, this is the person that can kill me. But Bhishma, he's unconquerable. I will easily win. He was fully convinced. And then this too, it's people today, they can be fully convinced that, the world is going to my plans, this is happening, and my empire will continue to expand. But if we take shelter of Krishna, and we do like that, and we go as best we can, that is our victory. And we can see that within the life of Srila Prabhupada, who, from the material point of view, was, coming to America at the age of, in his late 60s. And what he did to establish Krishna consciousness and the amount of pressure he put on modern civilization was unparalleled. And he did so much, and he changed a lot. He changed the course of a lot of countries, and changed the course of a lot of people's lives in that manner. So I'll read this here. This is from the Krishna book introduction, and to kind of talk about this point a little bit. So the point I'm speaking of now is that it may seem almost impossible to even begin to turn the tide of modern civilization, but it can be done. So I'll read this here. King Parikshit was especially interested in hearing Krishna Katha because he knew that his forefathers, and particularly his grandfather Arjuna, were victorious in the great battle of Kurukshetra only because of Krishna. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence in this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. According to Maharaj Parikshit, the battle of Kurukshetra was just like a vast ocean full of dangerous animals. His grandfather Arjuna had to fight with great heroes such as Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and many others who were not ordinary fighters. Such warriors have been compared to the Timingila fish in the ocean. The Timingila fish can very easily swallow up big whales. The great fighters in the battle of Kurukshetra could swallow many Arjunas very easily. But simply due to Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to kill all of them, just as one could cross with no exertion over the pit of water contained in the hoof print of a calf. So Arjuna, by the grace of Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battle of Kurukshetra. So Arjuna, it's described that those warriors, they could easily defeat Arjuna. He's gave the example of the Timingila fish, which is, it's like something like saying, let's see here, like a hawk could defeat a baby chick. The baby chick is not gonna win in a fight against a hawk. Never. It's just not gonna happen because he's so weak. But by the grace of Krishna, though we may be weak or whatever, we may be weak or we may be fallen, we obviously have so many disqualifications, at least I do. And we may think, man, how is this gonna go down? What is gonna happen? How is this going to take place? And Arjuna was worried in the beginning. He didn't even want to fight. He was thinking, just let them kill me. So many different things were coming to mind. Duryodhana was convinced fully, this is my victory. It's game over. But because there was Krishna on the side of Arjuna, victory was there. And it's described at the end of Bhagavad Gita. I'll read this this is the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Just read the translation, but it says, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So, and then Prabhupada goes on to talk about the purport. So, we have to take shelter of Krishna. We have to have faith in Krishna and his words and the words of the acharyas. And we have to execute those orders. And we have to challenge the modern society and follow in the footsteps of Brahma and Varaha. Varaha appeared on this day to reestablish Dharma and to fight the atheistic temperament of Harinama, who is putting forth a theory and an idea which is very prevalent today, that there is no God. And if there is a God, I will defeat him by my own strength, my own prowess. And nothing can be done. And so this is the modern society's way of thinking, that there is no God, and even if there is some big controller or whatever, what does it matter? We have atomic weapons, we have bombs, we have intelligence, we have a whole nation under our control. Who can possibly stop us? Nobody can stop us. But with one slap from the hand of Raha, Harinama was completely destroyed. So similarly, this Krishna consciousness movement is non-different from Krishna. Krishna has descended in the Kali Yuga in the form of his holy name. So if we go forward and we push forward the Yuga-dharma, and we are sincere in our endeavors, and pure in heart, and surrendered to Guru, and following Shastra, and serving the sadhus and devotees, we'll be protected by Krishna and we'll be empowered, so that we may have so many lackings. We may be not so intelligent, but Krishna will can make the most intelligent or unintelligent most intelligent. We may be blind, we can't see, whatever. Have so many different deficiencies. Krishna can be our eyes, he can help us see. Somebody that can be some assistance. Simply by remembering the Panchatattva, the most difficult things can become simple. But if we forget the mercy of the Panchatattva, then the most easy things will become very, very difficult. So today we can remember Varaha came to reestablish Dharma and to challenge the atheist. And we also too can do the same thing. We can challenge and we can push forward this for the benefit of all. Because we challenge these demons, and by defeating them, other great souls are saved also. So I'll end there. If there's any questions or comments on this particular points.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the point that you made with Arjuna, how all these great warriors could easily defeat him. Like you can see in first canto how when Krishna leaves the planet, that he becomes very weak and he's defeated by a bunch of bandits, right? And he comes back home crying to Yudhishthira. And then he remembers the instructions of Krishna again, then he's empowered again. Because now how Krishna's instruction on him taking him as his spiritual master was empowered by Krishna to fight on the battlefield. So apparently that story.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I was going to say that, since we've taken up Krishna consciousness, we have a great responsibility, I believe. We should spread, the topmost knowledge, the most confidential knowledge, that through devotional service we can attain Krishna and the supreme truth. And, it's not something that we should take so lightly. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I have a question. So, thank you for classroom. So we see that in this Western society, there's so much influence, at least the sense gratificatory, you could say, knowledge, and just this training to be opposite of what Christian consciousness wants to teach. So seemingly we're going out and we're trying to give people this knowledge, and we're trying to bring people to this different paradigm. But at least now I've been here 4 years, going on 4 years, and it may seem like our little efforts aren't producing so much fruit. So how do maintain that, you say, determination to continue on strong and say, okay, I'm gonna, okay, this is working, this is the process, this is something real, and this is the way people should really see,
Yeah, a couple ways. One of the first ways that popped into my mind was last time I read this quote from Harisari's diary. Prabhu was saying that we get our spiritual strength from rising early, from chanting our rounds, following the program. I was reading something else a couple days ago too, where Prabhu was talking about maintaining our enthusiasm. He was pretty much saying the same thing, but rising early, chanting our rounds, following the morning program, following like the things properly, whatever, the rules and regulations. And that can be, the different ways of that, like you shouldn't do something, which there's so many different things, and then you do it, and Krishna's not going to be pleased by that. Anyways, like he was saying, going on Kirtan daily, and like that. But the vision of a devotee is different from that of a materialist. There's one of the famous lines of the materialist is, "Show me the money." So they want to see the money in front of them. They want to see the results. It's like, okay, well, this works. Well, then show me. Let me see the results. And the whole idea, or at least a lot of understanding of people, is they have to see it. And we understand from Shastra that we don't need to see anything, that we just have to hear. And we understand that the principle, the prime duty of a disciple is to please his spiritual master. So that what is given to us are, to try to spread and preach Krishna consciousness. And, people may take or may not take. There's in the commentary of the Bhagavad Gita by Visnu-citta Prabhu, I think first of chapter 2, verse 41, he pretty much says that that I just aspire birth after birth to carry out the orders of the spiritual master, whether it brings me happiness, distress, this and that. Prabhupada would also often quote this point. That's my goal, life after life, is just to serve the spiritual master and not be concerned with that. So that's kind of like the main concern, at least of the devotee. And we can also see from Prabhupada's life that there was some struggle and some problem, and generally there is some struggle and some problem. But then these struggles also too, reflecting that these are it's like a period to really grow, because you're being challenged. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No pain, no gain. So in easygoing life and attainment of Krishna consciousness don't go ill together. So you can become discouraged, but and it's easy to, but we should understand that this is how things go, and there we can, and like that, and just to even also too to maintain something is also very good. Also, it may not be expanding. Prabhupada said, well, if you can't build, that's at least what I've heard, is you just maintain. So that's also another dynamic. Well, it may not be conquering New York City, and they're not going to change the name to New Haridam, but things are being maintained and going forward and like that, and there's some small opportunity. But then also too, another thing that just popped in my head is that by regularly hearing and reading different points of Shastra, that's also inspirational. Prabhupada says different things, like they get a book, they touch a book, and their life is benefited in so many ways. And that's not something we can perceive. Also, that's the main thing, that these spiritual benefits that the people get on a day-to-day basis from hearing the Harinama, distributing books, or the preaching programs, that's something that we can see. It's not like it's like you go to school and then you give the guy a test, he gets an A, and he graduates. It's like, well, you see, he's intelligent now. But it's harder to see the spiritual growth of a city, of a living entity, what to speak of a city and things. It's hard to see that, but we hear from Shastra, and then we think, okay, this is I can't see this, but this is what spiritual master is telling me. And that's the whole point. You accept the spiritual master, you become a disciple because you can't see and you don't understand. It's the Om Gyanam Timandam Dashya, Gyananjana Salakya, Chakshur Lamya Taspashi Gurave Namaha. The spirit, my eyes were covered with the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened them with the torchlight of knowledge. So, that's a couple of understandings there. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki
Jai.
Varahadeva ki
Jai.
Prabhu ki
His Grace Kalki Prabhu ki.